I'm Arn Menconi, and I'm a candidate for U.S. Senate in Colorado. I was a two-term Eagle County Commissioner. I served as a nonprofit executive director for 20 years. I have an MBA, and I've run a business. I supported Barack Obama 8 years ago as a Democratic county commissioner. I campaigned for Barack Obama. I grew up on the south side of Chicago, and I am a community organizer. And I voted for a man who was going to end wars, not create endless wars. I voted for a man, and I knocked on doors for a man who I believed in would close corporate loopholes. And instead, what we've seen is a growing inequality gap, and we've seen the corporate theocracy in America benefit for 8 more years. So when I watched Barack Obama today, I just stopped losing track of all of the promises that he still thinks he's going to deliver in the next 8 months of office or 10 months of office when he hasn't been able to deliver in the past 7 years. So what that tells us is this country is being run by the corporate people who are giving billions of dollars, reaping all of the profits, and it's time for us, people in the Green Party, people who aren't voting, people who think that their vote doesn't count anymore, to start speaking out, not in November in an election, but tonight, tomorrow, and the next day. Because what's happening is the wars are expanding. Barack Obama didn't talk about that. What he said instead is he bragged that we spend more on our military than the 8 other countries. I don't think that's the kind of message that we should be delivering to the rest of the world. And I'll let others talk about what's going on with the difference between the rich and the poor and the 1%. But one other thing that I want to touch on real quickly. Barack Obama talks about climate change, but just a month ago, he signed a bill that removed a 40-year ban on oil exports. He is the one facilitating the TPP, the Trans-Pacific Partnership. He has been able to give permits to Arctic drilling, and he's been able to move forward with the Keystone Pipeline. That is not a man who is for climate change. That's why I'm running for office, because there's only 100 senators in the world. And our senators are not speaking out against the global corporate mafia that is running this world. I hope you vote for me. My website is Arn, A-R-N, Menconi, MENCONI.com. I mean, if it's the TPP or if it's closing corporate loopholes, we have to remember that these politicians are taking billions of dollars from global corporations or multinational corporations. So they're going to sound like they know what's best for the American people, but we were not able to see the TPP, nor were the elected officials able to see the draft of the TPP that was written by the corporations. So if you want to know one thing about TPP that's critical, it's allowing the justice system essentially to be in charge by the corporations. They're going to be able to essentially hear their own trials, if you really want to say it crude and simple. So we don't have sovereign borders anymore. What we have is global corporations that are operating anywhere and however they want to, and they're writing the laws. There is over $3.5 trillion. The president talked about this. I mean, I thought he must have just watched The Big Short and had some born-again moment for a second there, because he was talking about corporations' profits are at record levels, the recklessness on Wall Street, and the corporations' avoidance of paying taxes. Well, he's talking about the biggest companies in the world. Apple is hiding all of their profits and taxes in Ireland. There's $750 trillion of wealth that is derivative debt. That means that they've essentially, bankers and central banks, created monopoly money as real money for themselves so that they continue making insane profits. So I kind of come to the conclusion after 8 years, and being 56 and being a former elected official and having an MBA and having 2 kids, to get in action today, to start acting and letting our elected officials know on Twitter, by calling them up, by going to their town hall meetings and telling them enough is enough. People are going to be watching this and they're going to be saying to themselves, okay, the Green Party is great at pointing out what all the problems are, but what are the solutions? The solutions are to act as a citizen today and speak up about issues that are affecting you. If corporations are receiving all the profit, that means that infrastructure is not being taken care of. That means that education is not competing with all of the other. Obama and others are going to try to sell us that we're going to be losing a competitive edge to other countries if we don't pass the TPP. That's a bunch of baloney. Has anybody watched the news who's sitting in that chamber tonight? China is about to implode. They had to shut down their markets twice last week, and it's failing. They have rigged their system, and they're like the wild, wild west. We've had more sophisticated policies in place, but they're rigged. Listen to what Elizabeth Warren is telling us. We know the system's rigged, but it's not rigged if we get in action. So Obama gave his final state of hope and change speech tonight. We've listened to it so many times now. We're sick and tired of being sick and tired. This isn't an indictment on Barack Obama. This is an indictment on the global corporate mafia that has been running not only our country, but other countries. So the TPP, to take it back to that, is this global rule system that they've written to take more greed and profit from the rest of the world. So it's time for us to be citizens and stop believing that a 2-party system is going to do anything for us, because a 2-party system is not doing anything but taking billions of dollars from them. I hope people who are listening can help the Green Party grow our movement and start to build our voices so that people understand the truth and not the lies. Thank you. In September of 2014, I went out to Washington to shake the hands of Senator Bennett and Udall at the time and our congressmen and try to get them to not go back in against ISIS because they wanted to save an embassy at the time. And here we are some 16 months later, thousands of people have been killed, 23,000 missiles have been dropped in the Middle East. So this is an endless war. It's been going on for decades. It's over oil. It's over selling of weapons. I have been in more Senate hearings. I've sat there. I've watched. I've been arrested in a Senate hearing in March with Secretary Kerry, who was presenting, and Martin Dempsey, the head of the Joint Chief of Staff, and the Secretary of Defense. This is all smoke and mirrors. And I would have never believed that a year and a half ago. But we continue killing innocent children and innocent people in the name of democracy. That's a bunch of BS. We've seen this happen in Vietnam. We've seen it happen in war after war since World War II. So we know this is a lie. So I don't really think it's necessary to address what Barack Obama is saying, because he is essentially has perfected drone attacks. It's illegal what he's doing. He's committing an illegal war. And on top of that, we have a Congress who's abdicated their power and not at least debating an authorization for military force. This ruse has been going on for too long. They're using a 2001 authorization for military force against Al-Qaeda. And in the same time, we're arming al-Nusra, which is Al-Qaeda light. We're giving weapons to Turkey, and Turkey is shooting down Russian planes while arming and while killing the Kurds, who we're using in order to support us against ISIS. If it sounds a little confusing and complex, it isn't when you start following the money. A destabilized Middle East is playing into the hands of what the military-industrial complex wants. And what does that translate to? It translates to killing more innocent Muslims. It's a disgrace. I pay about $4,000 in taxes that goes to the Defense Department, and it is killing people. I am not going to let my children and the people that I know not be represented by a U.S. Senate candidate who can talk about this every single day and expose the lies. So Muslims out there are laughing at us and crying at the funerals of their loved ones because of our hypocrisy. And Barack Obama and that Congress are hypocrites. So let's stop killing innocent people. Let's stop breeding more terrorists, and let's stop this war.